Welcome to Nars Corporation Games website. This is one of my first websites. I made this one in the year 2005. Unfortunately, I uploaded this one using a different web hosting provider because the previous ones were uploaded in Yahoo Geosites, which was a service from Yahoo that was so popular in the early years of the internet. However, it was shut down many years ago, and of course, I don't have a backup copy of them. But this one is still online, and I would like to analyze it and share with you how web development was made in those years. So let's get started. The first thing that you will notice here is that we do have a lot of empty space in the right side of the screen, and the reason of that is that we had a tendency to use tables to make the layout of our web pages. And I know that this is not a good practice, however, it was a consequence of using some visual editors like Macromedia Dreamweaver, which was the most popular tool in that decade. However, that was not the first tool I used to make websites. The first one was Netscape Composer, which was the official tool from Netscape. For those that are old enough to remember Netscape Navigator, well, it had an editor called Netscape Composer. But later on, I had to switch to Microsoft FrontPage because, as you may remember, Microsoft did some dirty moves so that web pages that were compatible with Netscape Navigator were not compatible in Internet Explorer. So developers had to make two versions of their websites, and of course that consumed a lot of time, and they end up just making a version for Internet Explorer, which was pre-installed in the Windows operating system. So for that reason I had to switch to Microsoft FrontPage, and later on I decided to use Macromedia Dreamweaver. So I made this website using that tool. Now let's take a look at the actual design of the web page. What you can see here in the top right corner of the screen is a menu made in Flash Player, and I know that I could have done this using CSS only. However, it was a common practice to use Flash Player for a lot of things that were not necessary. In this case, at least we had an alternative menu made in HTML, but many people were using Flash to make their entire websites, which was pretty bad because people that didn't have that software installed in their devices were not able to see their web pages. With that said, of course, the videos that are shown in the middle of the screen belongs to my first video games, and the widgets in the right side are actually iframes to a pull website and a chat box. And those are iframes. I don't remember if it was common to use APIs in those years. I don't even know if they were already invented, but well, at least it was more common to see iframes to consume external services. About the news section, this website is rendered using server-side code, but in order to show this news I had to edit the PHP file manually. However, there were many systems that allowed people to create news portals. I remember that the most common one was not WordPress, was called PHP Nuke to create news portals, and for communities and forums it was PHP VB. But I made this one manually. Well, about the news, fun story. I was making a CoF copy called CoF Revolution. I know that making fighting games is hard, but in this case I was using a tool called Mu Generation, which was basically a major fighting engine that allowed you to make fighting video games just by selecting the characters and selecting the scenes that you wanted to use. So it was easy to use and it didn't require any coding skills. It also had a feature to allow people to make their own characters as well. So I was making a CoF copy, and I don't know why I had the desire to sell my video game to my neighbors for $2. Of course, I printed many CDs, but no one bought any of those copies. So yeah, I didn't make any money at all. And finally, the news at the bottom of the screen. Yes, I think that I don't know if I was consuming some API because they had a link to some external website that allowed people to comment and post topics. but I think that I was editing this news manually anyway. So that's it about the home page. Now let's take a look at the games section. Well, those are the video games I have made at the time. The first one is called Spy Code, and it was supposed to be a copy of the Splinter Cell saga because I was a fan of those games. I even wrote this fun and hilarious story. It's kind of ridiculous, but the fact is that I didn't finish this one because it turned out to be harder than I expected, because I had to code some artificial intelligence for the enemies, and I was not prepared for that. I didn't have the knowledge to do so. But I did finish the next one. It was called Maximum Speed. And this was a racing video game that won some competitions in some video game communities. This one was a space video game. I'm not so proud of this one because it was too easy to make. I also made a music player for one specific format. Basically, it was a player for video game music. This one, War Day, I am so proud of this one because I made everything from the sprites, I coded everything, and also I made the music of this video game in MIDI format. And I made 3 versions of War Day because many people liked it, but I lost War Day 2 and War Day 3 copies. I only have the copy of War Day 1, but I really liked this one. It was a platformer and shooter as well. Metal Slug Pro. Yes, as you may guess, it was a copy of Metal Slug video games. Let me remove this banner. It was a copy of Metal Slug video games because one of the reasons I decided to make video games was because when I was a child, my father took me to some arcades, and I was amazed with Metal Slug. Of course, I lost all the money in a few minutes because the game was kind of hard for me, so I decided to make my own copy with a live bar. And this one, School Time, this was a skateboarding game. This was supposed to be me, and this was the uniform of my secondary school. I make this one only to show to my classmates that I was able to make video games. So it was not very interesting, and this was my first game. This one was my first video game made in Game Maker. These were video games that were supposed to be finished soon. As I mentioned, I did finish the one called Maximum Speed. I never finished the one called Spy Code, and this one, Bunny Jackass. This was the first one I made with other people. I had one classmate in my secondary school that was helping me with the sprites of this video game. Unfortunately, we both lost the sprites because our hard drives were damaged, so we never finished this one. And we lost a lot of work. But I have a demo of this one, and I think that I can make a gameplay of this one as well. And that's it. Of course, I have made a lot of video games after I made this webpage, but those were the ones I made at the time, right? So now let's take a look at the Flash section. I'm not too proud of these animations because I was a fan of Killer Pollo. For those people that are Mexican, they may remember Killer Pollo animation, and if you remember, they didn't use proper language, so I was following the example. So I am kind of embarrassed of some of these animations, so fortunately they are not available anymore. Some of those links are broken. But yeah, I also made some Flash animations, but I'm not going to share them because yes, I was young, and you know, I was a little bit unrespectful with some people. Now about downloads. I used to make a lot of examples because I wanted people to learn how to make different kinds of video games. So I made an example for the Game Maker to let people know how to make a Mario Party video games, how to make a SimCity video game, how to make a platformer, a racing video game, a soccer video game, how to make a saving system, how to make a level editor, how to make a dialogue system, and so on. So I really wanted people to understand how to make video games, but the fact is that I stopped making examples because then some people just copy the code and they claim that they were the ones that make those video games, which was of course not true. So they were not interested on learning how to make them, so just copying and pasting the code. So I was kind of disappointed, but I wanted to help people to learn how to make them. And what else? What we have here also, of course, this is the contact section. I remember that this was my first PHP code, sending emails through this form. And what you see here is a links section. It was also pretty common to insert banners from other websites, and in exchange they inserted your banner in their website. This was a common practice as well. And this is pretty fun. I don't know why, but I wanted to pretend that we were a video game company. As you see, the website name is Nars Corporation Games. But the fact is that I was the only one making video games. I included the names and photos of some friends and of my brothers as well, so that people may think that we are a big company. I even wrote a mission statement. But yeah, as I mentioned, they were not part of the company. I just included their names without asking them. I don't even know why I included a lot of personal information here, but well, it was only me. That's the tough reality, and I was supposed to be the boss. And that's it. I think that the remainder sections are broken. And yes, in fact, remaining links are broken. So I'm going to stop here. I really wanted to make this video because at some point this website is going to be deleted as well. And I was a little bit nostalgic about my origins as a video game developer and how I started to make websites. So for me, it was it was good to remember how I started, why I am doing the things I am doing right now. And thanks for watching. See you next time.